Hello guys, and it may sound a little bit surprising, but actually reading Russian newspapers can bring you some pleasure, because literally half of their headlines are dedicated to the problems with gasoline. Some discuss constantly rising prices, others constantly growing shortages. What is also very important, this geography of the crisis is getting wider and wider, now involving cities from Krasnoyarsk to Moscow and Bashkortostan, with one more strike on their oil refineries there today. And this rising gasoline prices lead to rising prices of everyday goods and leads to serious problems in the main Russian car producer AvtoVAZ. They actually plan to switch to 4-day working week, and all because Russians don't have money to buy cars, Russian cars, cheap cars, but also they realize, why do you need to buy a car if there is literally no gasoline for it? So let's discuss how this strategy ruins Russia from inside. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat and demilitarization of Russia that has already started, subscribe. We will discuss that on the channel sometime really soon, and please share these videos to save others from the ocean of the Russian disinformation. So it is true that lots of Russian websites, lots of Russian newspapers, and even their TV news cannot hide the truth anymore, and they have to speak about serious fuel shortages in dozens of the Russian regions, including the capital. So, for example, you can read Krasnoyarsk running out of gas, or oil producers in Tatarstan need to impose fuel restrictions, a fuel shortages map. Now, it sounds so familiar after the beginning of the Russian unprovoked war against Ukraine. We have this map of air raid alerts, we have this map of Ukraine online that demonstrates how we liberate our territories, or where Russians try to get more of the Ukrainian land. But now inside Russia, they have the fuel shortages map. Of course, it's not official, it's not designed in the Kremlin, but that is the initiative of people who are literally hunting for some gasoline in a country that was previously famous for a lot of gas and often compared to a gas station, and not anymore. So what is important, that fuel prices influence all the other prices. Russia, the Russian Federation, is an enormously large country that definitely does not need any new territories. They don't have enough people, they don't have enough money, they don't have enough fuel now to care for the territories they already have. And that is why with each problem, with more attacks on military legitimate targets, this process of the dissolution of the Russian Federation speeds up, as it is purely natural. And we may see, by the way, lots of Russian senators, lots of Russian politicians in the republics far away from Moscow, in the republics that experience most of problems, like strikes in Bashkortostan or fuel shortages like in Krasnoyarsk, start addressing the Kremlin, saying, well, this special military operation, we don't like it anymore because somehow it is now conducted on the Russian territory. And I'm sure that this dissatisfaction, the number of problems will keep growing, and don't be surprised to learn about the collapse of the Kremlin regime really quickly. This is exactly how it happened with the Russian Empire, with the Soviet Union, and this is what has already started for the Russian Federation. Subscribe, comment, like these videos to witness that all together, and I'm happy to be your translator to the world of the collapsing Russian Empire. So we may say that Russian diesel fuel prices keep rising, extremely actively, like the rising accelerates at least within these 3 weeks. And in recent months and a half, we destroyed 14 Russian oil refineries. And I don't even put this information in most of my videos, even though it's super important, because by destroying the oil refining industry, 24% experts say, we destroy their economy, we ruin their war budget, and we thus paralyze their war machine. But I don't even want to tire you with more such updates, though I consider them important. So another oil refinery targeted today in Bashkortostan, and you all know that is a republic with a potential to become independent, located 1,500 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border, proving like air defense of Russia keeps failing. They cannot protect oil refineries, even in the context of fuel shortages, in the context of rising prices. And more and more of the Russian oil producers speak about the need to reduce the extraction of oil. And I'm sure you can guess why. Because they don't have enough oil refineries to refine, if that's the correct verb, to refine oil. So they stop the mining, they stop the extraction of oil. If Saudi Arabia, other countries will substitute Russia and prices will keep going down, Russia is done in months. And what is interesting, 12 Russian senators wrote an open letter that is super bravery in Russia, saying that they are worried for the Russian economy if the budget continues to be war-oriented. And we know it's just like that. That's the reason why millions of Russians rush to withdraw their cash from the Russian banks. They realize that soon they may lose this opportunity. A similar process happened during the collapse of the USSR, when people lost millions, billions of their savings. And the history repeats itself. Putin wanted to rebuild the USSR, but somehow he rebuilt the USSR just before its collapse. Bad fortune, I guess. And I do love reading not only about strikes, not only about shortages or rising prices, but also about these real consequences that we can see, like rising prices on their products, basic products like oil, not just the one that you eat, not only that one that you use in industry, like butter, like bread. And this AvtoVAZ collapse is very symbolic. AvtoVAZ is main Russian car producer, Lada, the one that they give if the person is neutralized after committing a crime of crossing the Ukrainian border illegally. That's what Russian families receive for their war criminals. But even with that, people don't want to buy Russian cars. They stopped offering Chinese cars, but they need to offer Chinese cars because they need Chinese support. It's so difficult for the Kremlin right now. But more and more Russians say, why do we need to buy a car if we cannot afford gas? If we cannot find gas, and if we find gas, we cannot afford it. So during this month, the sales of AvtoVAZ dropped 36%. And at the beginning of summer, they sent all of their workers into a vacation, not giving them an option, just like go rest. And now they plan to restore the work of their factories, but with a 4-day working week, which I'm sure you can guess is that desperate move to try and save workers, not to fire all of them, but to preserve this imitation of the production process. But that is a sign that this, I don't know, how do you say, like monsters of the Russian business, Gazprom, Lukoil, AvtoVAZ, Aeroflot, all keep disappearing because Putin is crazy. He is. And one of his best friends, Kozak, I'm not sure, like, yes, he has a Ukrainian origin and he has a Ukrainian surname, Kozak, just like Cossacks, but he was a long mafia friend of Putin. Some say that Putin spent these years of in the bunker with him, and that he was one of the people who inspired the annexation of Crimea and actually received a lot in Crimea for his businesses. So that Kozak, Putin's friend, decided to resign from politics, and he was the deputy chief of the administration or something like that. And the reason he sees that the special military operation destroys Russia, and he wants to switch to business. Well, I'm not sure if he won't, drink some Russian tea, but that is a sign. Even those people who were really close to Putin, who maybe liked the idea of the blitzkrieg, but seeing what this exhausting war does to the Russian Federation, how it speeds up the process of its dissolution, how it turns into bankrupt companies that were once the pride of the Kremlin, they realize it's time to stop, but Putin cannot. This will destroy him and his project. And subscribe to witness that together, same as check some videos on my new channel, Anna Danilchuk, where I explain more about this very different part of the world. Follow me on X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Skies, Discord, all the links in the description of this video. Same as the link to our merch shop with spiderweb and flamingo t-shirts that help you remind the world about the need to defeat Russia and how hard we are working on that with some really important success. Also, remember to join me this Saturday, 9 p.m. Kyiv, for a live conversation. I'm always happy to spend the evening in Ukraine, or morning if you are in New Zealand, for example, but in our community of friends. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel, but most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!